All right, hello. This is our first ever Chem 420 office hours. So I'd like to first off uh, say welcome. Welcome to OChem office hours. I just saw my concurrent viewers drop down from 3 to 2. If you're in my Gen Chem class and wondering why I'm going live at this unusual time, it's because I'm going to be using this channel to support both my Gen Chem lecture and OChem lab. So this is a time where I'll be fielding questions from my organic students, procedural questions, problems that you guys are having trouble with. Since this is, or maybe your first time logging in to view something that you may or may not be unfamiliar with YouTube Live, but if you want to to live chat, you do need to be logged in. So to live chat, log in. To YouTube, and you can do so if you don't have a YouTube account. You log in with your Gmail, and if you don't have a normal Gmail, you can just use your student one. So if you'd like to be able to leave comments, throw questions at me, like I am down here. Then you'll need to log in with your Gmail. So Max and I have been talking about how exactly we want to kind of handle the remaining of the semester, doing the labs online, and we're still working out the details, but it will most likely involve a lot more of this kind of live streaming, kind of office hours, live stream led discussions. I don't know how. So I know that he's been using Zoom so far. I've been using YouTube and I'm having pretty good success with it. I think the feedback I've been getting from my Gen Chem students has been fairly positive. So I think I'll be moving forward using this format. But I'm also very much interested in hearing about your experience on Zoom and what your preferences are. Oh, whoa, hey! We have our first question. What's up, Mallory? Okay, hey. What kind of things do we need to include in the lab report now that it has all changed up? Okay, great question. So as of right now, we have so there are two there are two lab write-ups as of right now that we still were physically in the lab to do and complete before everything shut down because of COVID. So for the so there's two labs. So for the essential, whoa, can I even spell here? Maybe not. There we go. Okay, sorry, I just spaced. For the essential oils lab, and the GC intro lab. We did both of these experiments in lab before the COVID shutdown. So these two will have normal lab reports. I know that you are still waiting on me for the GC intro lab. I still have not. I will be posting the trace data. Plus any post-lab questions and instructions. I have not done that yet. It will be forthcoming relatively soon. I realize that's not committing to a specific time frame. So I'll be posting information about so I'll be posting the data that we all collected for the GC intro lab, how to write that up, etc. And then the essential oils lab, I think I have this open here. Max posted a Google Docs. Yeah, there we go. The one part of the experiment with the essential oils lab that we didn't get to was the part with the polarimeter. He posted a YouTube video that you can watch that kind of explains what that's all about. And then he gives you some data that you can then do the calculations with that data on. So for the GC lab, keep an eye open. I'll be posting information on how to work that up. For the essential oils lab, follow the instructions that Max left in that Google Doc. And that's on our lecture canvas, if you're looking for that. So that's how you handle those two reports. Now, there's a third kind of category, and that is for experiment 9.1. Which is the experiment on SN1 and SN2 reactions. This is going to be our first purely electronic lab. So we haven't taken any step into the lab with experiment 9.1. But Max, again, posted a Google Doc to the lecture canvas and left instructions on it. There's a video that's close to the experiment you would have been doing for you to watch, and then he tells you how to write out the quote-unquote data and data analysis for that lab. So this will be more of a theoretical exercise, and he details in that document how exactly he wants you to go about doing that. So for this, excuse me again, you'll want to follow the Google Docs. Now, none of these have due dates as of right now. I'll be posting those soon, but I know that we also have, or you also have, a midterm coming up soon. Let me pull up the syllabus here because I don't remember exactly when it is. let's see, we're here, it's 3:25. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, that's my, hang on. That's my Chem 400. There we go, 420. All right. Looking at the schedule. Okay, so April 1st is, so a week from today. You guys are taking your second exam, which I believe Max is going to give you as a take-home exam. I will kind of keep in mind the fact that you have a test coming up when I assign the due dates for when these labs will come due, because I know everybody will want to be focusing on the exam. Let's see, when do we need to turn in the computation? Where are we supposed to already? Okay, that is a great question. So there is one last lab that's left twisting in the wind here. That is the computational lab. The computational lab. We said at the time, this was relatively early in the semester, Max and I were talking, and I know he wanted to get a set of post-lab questions to go along with this lab, and that's why a due date has never been assigned. And this was just one of those details that kind of got lost in the mix. So no due date was ever assigned because the COVID stuff hit. We hadn't written any post lab questions for it, and then it got lost in the shuffle. So if you're feeling antsy, like you want to just get that situation kind of locked down. Here's the information on the computational lab, and also I will be posting. Here, hang on. Let me write myself a note. I will be writing a post on Canvas, kind of consolidating the major things you need to know. So first, computational. I'm writing this note so I won't forget. Okay, so the computational lab. I'm going to have you guys turn it in with no post-lab questions. No post-lab questions. What else? So just complete the Google Doc as is, and for the due date, the due date is still to be announced, because I have 3 due dates to figure out. 1 is the computational lab, 2 is the GC lab, 3 is the orange peel lab, and the reason why I'm not going to commit to any assignment, excuse me. The reason why I'm not going to assign any due dates right at this moment is mostly because I want to take a step back, look at the calendar, because you guys have an exam coming up, and so I don't want to pile a bunch of due dates for these things in such a way that would detract from your ability to study for your lab, and I want to space these out through the remaining time we have together, so you also don't have a crunch. You can kind of take things one at a time. So answer to your question, Mallory, you were not supposed to do it already. It's not due yet, but I will be posting a due date, so you can just kind of get that in and kind of wrap that up. Okay. So a question from Well Damn is the handle. I don't know who you are, but but I'm hoping you're in my class. What lab did you say was turned in by everyone last week from the announcement? Oh, if possibly Irving, if that's you. The lab that was turned in by everyone um, was um, was the caffeine lab report. And not it was technically due Monday, but not everybody turned it in Monday because I guess Max had said in lecture that Max had said in lecture that anything that was due suspended due date just because of all the COVID madness. So if I think I've got everybody's, but last week's lab was the caffeine. Which I was accepting. Okay, that is hopefully Irving. Um, Last week's lab was the caffeine lab, and I was accepting late submissions on that situation. So if you haven't submitted your caffeine lab yet, which I'm pretty sure everybody has, but in case anyone out there's listening and they're like, oh, I didn't get that in, this is the one instance where late submissions are accepted. So I will still accept it, even if even if you still haven't. So get that situation in. Totally. So how we've got two humans who are commenting, and then two who are lurking in the darkness. Or now we're down to one. I guess that was somewhat ominous. How have you guys been handling the transition? How's Zoom lectures working out for you? I'm really interested to know kind of what your experience is. Yeah, of course. Oh, of course. We didn't get any like homework questions at least yet. Didn't get any homework questions this week for office hours. So oh wait. So I don't have any like problems to work per se. But I mean, I'm still, if you guys had any questions that you like were like, oh, I was doing this mechanism problem and it was really stumping me, you can totally, it's not too late to send them in. My email and Canvas Messenger are open. But they were all the questions this week were kind of centered around labs. When do they do? I feel like the lab sections were a little bit of a train wreck because all of the instructors are like, how do I figure out, like scrambling to figure out lecture, and the we were juggling all these balls, and the balls that hit the ground I think were all the lab ones. So I apologize if I felt distant. And now that lecture is off and humming, you guys are getting a little more of my attention, and that will continue to grow in. Like I said, Max and I have also been kind of going back and forth on talking about shaping the experience of lab for the remainder of the semester, and we're going to be doing a lot more of this. There's been talk of so you've seen, if you haven't already, in the most recent Canvas announcement from Max, there's been a information on doing a online lab. So our first true e-lab. We're also talking about using our lab time to kind of do live stream some office hours with like guided worksheets. So posting a worksheet that we can then like posting it ahead of time so you can take a look at it, maybe take a crack at a couple of problems, and then then working through it together through a live stream. Definitely me, possibly him as well in his morning lab. And one of the advantages to this is if you like him, you can go listen to him do it, and you don't have to. You're not stuck with me per se. But I'll also be available, and he'll be available, so you can get kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of get some repetition in there, and seeing it explained a different way from a different brain is very, very good. Getting that repetition reinforcement. So I'm actually really excited about the education and support possibilities that are going to be cropping up because of this whole COVID crisis. So it's interesting times. So yeah, another thing while we're all talking, and please don't hesitate if you have questions that you're like, oh, you know what, there's a problem that I was doing today that I need some help on. Like, it's not, you don't have to have these questions sent in before office hours starts. You can totally send them in during. I will totally drop whatever I'm doing or talking about at the moment to actually dive into some chemistry if you need help there. But I think that this whole kind of COVID situation and going pure digital where we're all quarantined in our homes, it's been odd, but it's also been kind of interesting and exciting trying to find ways to connect with students, meet their needs, and really, all of us faculty are trying to find kind of a mix and amalgam of ways to reach you and to meet your needs, and so I just want to say that your feedback is critical. Your feedback is critical. Or I should say, not to us, for us. Everything we're doing at this moment in time is an experiment. All right? And we really want to know, gosh, that is the ugliest thing I've ever written on a slide. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to say your feedback. There we go. It's clutch. All right. Everything that, like I said, everything that we've been doing, trying up to this moment in time is an experiment. And the point of experiments are collecting data so that you can optimize them. So I want to know what your experience is. I want to know what's good. What's good? What has been happening so far that has helped you and supported you in your organic chemistry endeavors? Just as important as what's working is knowing what's bad. All right, what hasn't been so great? What needs to be optimized? Another thing that's clutch is what's needed. All right, where are your current gaps? What are things that you have a need that we're not fulfilling yet that maybe we could? Vocalizing all of these things will be of immense help to Max and I, because we want to be here to support you as best you can, because you're getting through this time just like we are, arguably under higher stress situations than we are, because we're faculty. I mean, it's stressful for us, but we're also not the ones who are going to be, taking exams in a week, for example. So I want to be here to help you. One question that I do have, and again, I'll post this as an announcement, but I know your exam is a week from today. Um, would you like? So one question I have is, would you like um, a Monday a Monday office hour ahead of the exam next week? Obviously, um, Wednesday's office hour, which I'm still totally down to hold, I'm not going to be able to answer questions relating to the exam or about the exam, but we could totally hold one Monday ahead of time. Is that something that you would want to see? Because if you wanted, that would be helpful. I am totally down to hold one, provide that for you. So that would be so that's there if you want it. If I get feedback from you guys. Um, at this moment in time, um, that's pretty much it. I don't know if the last few hangers on, if you guys have um, additional questions that you want to send in, because if you do, I'm totally down to continue hanging out and um, and answer them for you. But if not, then I will probably bounce, because this is all I have for now. Again, I will be posting more information to our canvas about specific due dates kind of once I sit down, take a look at our schedule, and space things out. Um, and there's more information to come as far as different exercises, new formats we're going to be trying as we do kind of electronic lab. Some electronic labs, as you've seen the Google Doc, or maybe you haven't yet, for experiment 9.1, and then also electronic lab kind of exercises and instructional time done live streaming. Um, so yeah, that's about all I have for now. Um, excuse me. I've had to change my lecturing habits because normally I lecture like drinking a LaCroix or something, and um, right now when you're live streaming, you can't really, because it makes you belch into the microphone, which is unfortunate. Um, so there. I don't know if you needed that information, but now you have it. I guess. Well, here, hang on. Um, so yeah. Oh wait. Okay, sorry. I got a comment um, from one of my Gen Chem peeps. Who was like, "What? You're live streaming? I didn't know we were doing a 6 p.m. live stream." Well, Gen Chem isn't, but I am for my OChem lab. Um, totally. Well, in absence of any further OChem questions, I want to leave you with a song of the day, which I'll link to in the description. If you're going a little quarantine crazy, this one will help you out. It's helped me out today. Die by the Drop by the Dead Weather. Alrighty. Check that situation out. I hope you all have a solid weekend. Study up. When you hit those problems that you don't know how to handle, um, send them in to me by email so we can hit them up in our Chem 420 office hours. All right, and remember two things. First, you want your subject line to be Chem 420 office hours. This is clutch. This is clutch because I also have a Chem 400 section. So this is how I will sort your questions out from theirs. And then second, if it's about a problem that you're working, include a picture, please. Include a picture of the original problem. And that will make it a little more streamlined. That way you don't have to be flipping back and forth between pages in the textbook going problem to problem. So if you do those two things, your question will won't be lost in the shuffle, and it'll hopefully make for a more fluid stream. Oh, question from Raj. Can I ask you some OChem questions? You totally can. Hit me with your OChem questions. Raj, I don't know if you have any questions as of this moment, but you also can send your OChem questions into Chem 420 office hours, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Ooh, what is the difference between acetals? Oh, what a great question. That is a totally solid question. So, an acetal is a special kind of diether. Oops. It's a special kind of diether. It's a functional group where you have some carbon chain and you have two ethers, and the diether, the two ethers are attached, you'll notice, to the same carbon. All right? It is a diether. It's a diether functional group with both ethers on the same carbon. Now, a hemiacetal is a way to think of a hemiacetal is it's kind of like a halfway acetal. It's not an acetal. A hemiacetal is this functional group. So it's similar to an acetal in that there are two oxygens on the same carbon, but one of the oxygens is an ether and one is an alcohol. All right? So a hemiacetal is a functional group with an ether and an alcohol on the same carbon. Now, if you're wondering, okay, it's not an acetal, why is it called a hemiacetal? The reason why the hemiacetal is called a hemiacetal has to do with the mechanism of the mechanism that of the reaction that forms an acetal. So if you start with so you make an acetal from a carbonyl, usually a ketone or an aldehyde, and you react it with an alcohol. OH, I'm going to just call that. I'm going to call this actually let's be complete R1, R2, R3. And this has a little acid catalyst. And to make the acetal requires several steps to go from the ketone or aldehyde to the acetal. And on the reaction pathway during the mechanism from the mechanism that takes the ketone and converts it to the acetal, a hemiacetal is formed in transit, kind of on the reaction pathway, where you've put your first ether on there, but there's still that original oxygen from a ketone. So that is why the hemiacetal is called the hemiacetal. You start with a ketone or aldehyde, and you make an acetal, and in transit on your way, a hemiacetal forms, but then reacts to go all the way to the acetal. So that is the difference. Between the acetal and the hemiacetal. One interesting... hemiacetals are usually very reactive and unstable, but there is one example of a hemiacetal that is... Not one example, there's actually many examples. Of hemiacetals that are stable. They tend to be stable when they're cyclic. So all sugars, for example, are hemiacetals because you'll notice that on this carbon, this is the OH in a hemiacetal, and then this side is the OR, because the hemiacetal has an OR and an OH attached to the same carbon. So there's a very long 2-slide answer to a relatively simple, straightforward question. The difference between a acetal and a hemiacetal. I just think I'm overeager to explain because there's we have a poverty of questions at hand. So I'm like, I'll just talk about this for as long as I can. Not because I like the sound of my own voice, but because chemistry is fun. And organic chemistry is the most fun. Is that the same connection as imines and enamines? That is a great question. Hang on. Is that the same connection between imines and enamines? The same connection. It's the same. It's the same as but by the same, do you mean that you will form an imine or an iminium ion on your way to make an enamine. Because when you look at, so an imine is like the nitrogen version of a carbonyl. So this is an imine. All right. And this, actually, interestingly enough, this is also made by a reaction with a ketone. So you start with a ketone, you can make an imine. Now, an enamine, an enamine is where you have an amine and an alkene in the same molecule. So this is an enamine. All right. Now, an enamine you also make from a carbonyl. But along the reaction pathway, you'll get, if you use a secondary amine, you'll make what's known as an Iminium ion. So this is similar to an imine, except it has a positive charge. So this is called an Iminium ion. All right. And the Iminium ion is a reactive intermediate along the pathway to make an enamine. So an enamine is technically not made from an imine, but it's made from an Iminium ion, which, as you can see, has a very similar structure. If you compare the Iminium ion to the imine, they're very similar. It's just the Iminium ion has a second R group and a charge. That's what kind of separates it, differentiates it from the imine. So yes, if you consider, well, yes and no. Technically, no, because an imine isn't formed, but an Iminium ion is formed, and they have similar structures. Yeah, the nitrogen double bonded to a carbon. You do go through an intermediate, as you can see on the slide, where nitrogen is double bonded to a carbon. But because in the reaction that forms the enamine, that nitrogen with the double bond to a carbon has a positive charge, its name is not technically an imine, it's technically an Iminium ion. But you do go through a structure where that nitrogen is double bonded. Totally. That's a great observation. And I'm going to say so in writing. Totally. That's what I say to fill space when things are quiet for too long. So do you have any other questions? Or are we good to go here? I'm totally, by the way, not trying to put on the pressure, but whenever a live stream starts getting kind of laggy and dead, I start wondering, do you end it now? Do you not? You know, it's like when you're in a conversation with someone at a party and it starts like dying off. You're like, should I excuse myself to go to the bathroom? Except you can't in a YouTube live stream be like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then just walk away from the mic. Not okay online etiquette. So I have to keep talking and regale you with dull analogies of talking to people in public places, which hopefully none of us are doing right now. Ooh. Will you post it on the channel? If you mean this video will be live and viewable on the YouTube channel, just like all of my office hours and lectures. So totally, this will be available to watch later. Totally, yeah, totally. That's awesome. And this is will be a lot of first semester OChem questions, but yeah, you will be able to watch these at any time. They'll remain up there for as long as YouTube doesn't crash. Dude, I'm so glad this could be helpful. It's one of the I actually really like the YouTube format because it's kind of like live. It's like what Khan Academy does, except there's that live interaction component, and I'm always getting I always get excited when someone benefits from it. Totally. So we'll maybe give it a couple more minutes. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, of course. Of course. You are welcome. Of course, and now that you know we're gonna be doing some online OChem live streams too, you can pitch in, join the convo. This is I'm open to anyone who's doing organic chemistry. I'm totally happy to help. If there's like a pile up of questions, I'm gonna give priority to the to the questions sent in by my lab students. But as you can see, this has been kind of lagging, mostly procedural, and when that's the case, I'm totally down to take questions from anywhere as long as they're organic chemistry. So cool. This will be up, available. I'm gonna outline it soon-ish, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I will catch you all next time.